Republic and the United Nations. It's been quite a roller coaster, I know. In all the after days, we have been doing. But as I've been explaining with you in Sri Lanka, we can open any doors, including the gates of society. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Hikmet Hajiyev, Assistant to the President of the Azerbaijan Republic and Head of Division for Foreign Policy, for his opening remark. Hikmet, madam, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sultan Malim. Thank you, Sultan Malim. Dear ministers, dear Valenka, dear friends, and dear colleagues, I also join and cordially invite you to our beautiful city of Shusha, Azerbaijan, in the eve of Nowruz, and having a discussion and seminar on United Nations and Azerbaijani cooperation in beautiful city of Shusha has also symbolic meaning for Azerbaijani people. Because back in 1992, March 2, when Azerbaijan Republic joined the United Nations, 2 months later, beautiful city of Shusha was occupied by the Armenian armed forces. And Shusha was subject to the vandalism, destruction throughout the years. And people of Azerbaijan was daring for Shusha, but they couldn't have any access. But Shusha now is one of the Azerbaijani cities, is flourishing, is under the process of the construction and reconstruction. And Shusha, on a daily basis, is changing. And also United Nations Azerbaijani cooperation is also changing since the early 90s. In the early 90s, Azerbaijan was a recipient of aid and recipient of the security. And Azerbaijan was a consumer of security. But now, 30 years later, Azerbaijan is a full member of the international community and UN family. Azerbaijan is a contributor to the goals and missions that are identified by the United Nations, but as a noble missions about peace, security, and development. And I will particularly highlight in UN-Azerbaijani cooperation one historic moment when Azerbaijan was joined and actually was elected with the support of 155 states to the UN Security Council for the term 2012 and 2013. And Azerbaijan at that time being suffered from the non-application of the norms and principles of international law and lack of the supremacy of the international law with regard to the persisting occupation of Armenia has underlined that our principle, approach, and our priority will be safeguarding norms and principles of international law. Guided by that principle, Azerbaijan contributed to the international peace and security. Therefore, Azerbaijan also has chosen multifaceted approach, multidimensional approach to work with the different institutions of the United Nations family. On a peace and security agenda, Azerbaijan continues to be active, as I already said, and our active engagement with the United Nations also augmented with our practical contribution to the peacekeeping missions endorsed by the United Nations Security Council in many other parts of the world, including in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and some other places. And today, Azerbaijani officers are serving in some other peacekeeping operations as staff officers, including in Sudan and some other places. On development agenda, Azerbaijan, with the support of the UN institutions in the early 90s, has developed its own model of the political, economic, and social development. And being almost in the rank of the least developed country, Azerbaijan today is a mid-income developing country. And more ambitious, more prosperous future is expecting in Azerbaijan. And in that process, we also appreciate the role of the United Nations and its appropriate institutions. Since the early days of Azerbaijani independence, supported Azerbaijan. In the early 90s, I was a schoolboy in Ganja city of Azerbaijan. My own personal touch with the United Nations was in a blue signs of UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Azerbaijan. That time I had a very little understanding what does it mean. Then I digged out and understand that this institution came to help to Azerbaijani refugees and IDPs. I really appreciate the work of the UN personnel who came on that difficult time to Azerbaijan to help our refugees and IDPs. Azerbaijan at that time faced one of the biggest humanitarian crises of Europe after the Second World War. It was a crucial moment in the history of Azerbaijan. And today, Azerbaijan has identified its own national priorities, and development agenda is also high on our national priorities. And we also see synchronization and parallel sustainable development goals and Azerbaijan's national priorities. Today, Azerbaijan also opened a new chapter in our development agenda. It's a reconstruction and it's a recovery and rebuilding of the liberated territories. In that process, we also see United Nations as a partner for Azerbaijan. And recently, I appreciate the role of the United Nations, Resident Coordinator Office and Personnel Blanca and her colleagues, and also a European Union and a World Bank, that we organized RPPA, Peace Building and Recovery Mission to Azerbaijan, as they have visited Fizuli, Ahlam and Jabral regions and shared already the initial recommendations and advices and expertise with Azerbaijani government on our agenda about the reconstruction. UN institutions are also actively engaged with Azerbaijan on demining issues, because demining remains a major impediment on our development agenda. And of course, starting from the 2020, and particularly in the year of the 2020, Azerbaijan was fighting in two fronts. From one front, it was a military aggression started from Armenia. Another front, that was global aggression, it was on COVID-19. On COVID-19, we appreciate the role of the WHO Baku office and also WHO as an institution that called Azerbaijan as one of the exemplary countries in fight against COVID. And Azerbaijan also, by virtue of its potential, contributed to the noble missions of the WHO around the world. And we're also taking active part in certain humanitarian missions of the United Nations, and Azerbaijan also chooses a path of voluntary financial contribution to certain missions of the United Nations. Because there is a bright future in UN-Azerbaijan cooperation, and United Nations is a universal organization. Sometimes in the press, including myself, sometimes by time we are criticizing United Nations. But United Nations is also about the member states. Member states should uphold their own commitments, as we have seen with regard to Armenia, for example. So Armenia also signed this book. I always say that book here is not in a Bible or Quran. Book here is a chapter of the United Nations, and all countries have signed to the Charter of the United Nations, but the countries are not fulfilling their commitments and obligations. That's not directly responsibility of the United Nations. The countries like in Armenia should fulfill their obligations, and other countries as well. If the United Nations is in a family, we cannot imagine any longer the world without United Nations. We only have one United Nations, and all member countries, all multi-state actors should contribute to the strengthening of the United Nations. Therefore, I take this opportunity to thank all UN missions and all UN professionals and colleagues who served throughout the years in Azerbaijan, and also UN experts and UN professionals are serving in many parts of the world for the sake of the development, for the sake of the peace and security. Sometimes they are actually risking their own lives and becoming the victims of different conflicts and different situations. Once again, congratulating all of us together for the 30th anniversary of the UN-Azerbaijan Partnership and Cooperation, particularly from the city of Shusha in the eve of Nowruz. And Nowruz is also, as it was also endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly resolution, as the 25th of March is the day of Nowruz. And Nowruz is about peace, rebirth, revival, and harmony with the nature, and some other values that it also encompasses and embeds. It's about unity, solidarity, and compassion, and so on. With that spirit, I believe that UN-Azerbaijan cooperation will continue to grow. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hikmet Mali. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Ceyhun Bayramov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Azerbaijan Republic, to share his opening remarks. Please, Ceyhun.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me particular pleasure to welcome you all at today's conference, which takes place in our cultural capital, Shusha city. Several days ago, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Azerbaijan's admission to the United Nations membership. In a series of events to mark this important occasion, it was decided to organize this conference on the highly topical issue of sustainable development in post-conflict and post-COVID-19 context. In 2015, the UN member states committed to take tangible steps by 2030 to change our world for the better. However, timely and complete achievement of SDGs is seriously challenged by conflict situations, and their severe consequences, as well as emerging global crises such as the ongoing pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken the foundations of our world and pushed the globe to one of the worst recessions in decades. It continues to have terrible consequences for the most vulnerable people around the globe. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development has been designated to address exactly such fragilities and shortcomings. It provides a guiding light to end the pandemic, to respond to its socio-economic impacts, and to undertake successful paths for global recovery. The ongoing trends in preparation for post-pandemic recovery is as much worrisome as it was during the pandemic. Countries with access to vaccines and continued fiscal support are well on their path to recovery, and those without are at risk of falling behind. Consequently, progress toward the SDGs has slowed down or even reversed in many countries. Azerbaijan highly values the support of UN and its specialized agencies in achieving the goals and targets set at the Sustainable Development Agenda. Being one of the few countries that has already submitted its third voluntary regional report on the implementation of SDGs, Azerbaijan remains committed to continued result-oriented engagement with UN and its institutions. The United Nations Azerbaijan Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for the period 2021-2025 constitutes a roadmap ahead of us in designing our future engagement with UN institutions, attaching particular importance to the post-conflict recovery needs of Azerbaijan. As you all know, immediately after the end of the conflict, Azerbaijan has engaged in large-scale recovery and reconstruction works in the liberated territories. At this stage, rehabilitation and reconstruction of residential areas, which were fully razed to the ground, safe and dignified return of IDPs to their places of origin, and reintegration of persons belonging to Armenian ethnic minority into the political, economic and social sphere of Azerbaijan as equal citizens are absolute priorities for the government of Azerbaijan. Massive contamination of the conflict-affected territories with landmines and other explosive devices represent a major impediment to post-conflict rehabilitation and reconstruction efforts and to the safe return of IDPs to their homes. I wish to emphasize in this regard the significance of recent UN missions, including the UNHCR, UN Habitat, UNEP, and joint assessment mission of UN with World Bank and European Union to the conflict-affected territories of Azerbaijan, which I am confident were quite useful for them in terms of witnessing the unprecedented scale of destruction by their own eyes. We expect those missions to comprehensively reflect the realities they have observed during their missions and provide concrete suggestions for improving the efficiency of the recovery activities undertaken by Azerbaijani authorities. And of course, while elaborating the outcomes of the missions, the acknowledgement of what has been done so far by Azerbaijani government should not be put aside. Dear colleagues, the world's interlinked threats and challenges require everyone to share responsibility and contribute to common efforts. The pandemic has demonstrated that no country can cope with such challenge of global scale alone. International cooperation and solidarity must be at the center of our joint efforts. Proceeding from this understanding and in parallel to implementing the enormous task in the liberated territories, Azerbaijan has spared no effort to assist other countries in addressing their development needs, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to putting forward initiatives of global importance in its capacity as NAM-chair, Azerbaijan has provided financial and humanitarian assistance to more than 80 countries during the pandemic. 60 of them have benefited from financial assistance provided by Azerbaijani government through World Health Organization. 5 countries received COVID-19 vaccines from Azerbaijan worth to $2 million. Only in 2020, the total value of financial, humanitarian and technical assistance provided by Azerbaijan to other countries equaled to $30 million. The non-aligned movement, which Azerbaijan continues to proudly chair, has been at the center of global efforts in addressing the negative impact of the pandemic over people. The President of Azerbaijan, in his capacity as the chair of NAM, has condemned vaccine nationalism and put forward on behalf of the movement several initiatives to prevent discriminatory practices in vaccine distribution, such as the adoption of UN, Human Rights Council and General Assembly resolutions promoting universal, affordable and equitable access to vaccines. The initiative of the President of Azerbaijan as NAM chair covers also post-pandemic recovery issues. Azerbaijan plans to convene the next meeting of NAM contact group in response to COVID-19 in the coming months, where the leaders of NAM member states are expected to call upon the UN Secretary General to establish a high-level UN panel on post-pandemic global recovery. In conclusion, dear colleagues, I express my confidence that today's conference, with its highly interesting panels, will provide us an excellent opportunity to elaborate on how SDGs can be a significant tool in achieving our post-conflict and post-pandemic recovery objectives. The outcome of this conference will no doubt contribute to the success of our efforts, both at national and international levels. I wish successful deliberation to all conference participants. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I now turn to Mr. Muhtar Babayev, Minister of Environment. Muhtar Malim, please.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me extend my sincere gratitude to the organizers of this memorable event and congratulate the UN partners on the occasion of 30th anniversary of Azerbaijani-UN partnership. Protection of environment has always been a priority of the government of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan being a country ratified more than 20 international environmental conventions, actively participates in various environmental initiatives. The most of secretariats of these conventions are managed by UN organizations. Azerbaijan is entering a strategic phase of the new post-pandemic and post-conflict period. We set the country's long-term development vector to socio-economic and environmental development through the 5 corresponding national priorities, including clean environment and green growth, country which is in line with the commitment under the 2030 agenda. The end of the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan creates new economic opportunities, not only for Azerbaijan, but also for the country of the region. As a result of occupation for almost 30 years, the region's nature, biodiversity, and the ecosystem as a whole have been severely damaged, and ecological balance has been disrupted, in many cases leading to the degradation of the environment. In the liberated territories, priority is given to clean energy supply, sustainable use of resources, as well as the re-establishment of the solid waste management system in accordance with the modern standards. There are ecologically important relict lakes, numerous rivers and reservoirs in the areas. Studies show that the rivers entering from the territory of Armenia, especially the Okchuchay River's surface water and as well as sediments, is heavily polluted by untreated industrial and municipal discharges. The constant pollution of the Okchuchay River negatively impacted the irrigation and drinking water supply in the region. International organizations and conventions were informed about the ecological crisis and critical conditions of Okchuchay River and its ecosystem and called for action to prevent the pollution in future. A special research group is established to identify scientifically sound measures and develop an appropriate rehabilitation program. Over the past 30 years, observations of the hydrometeorological stations in the region have been suspended and infrastructure has been completely destroyed. It is planned to restore this observation with the use of modern automated systems. The construction of 11 automated hydrological stations has already initiated. Doppler radar system will be installed in Şuşa city as an extension of existing network of Şamaxı and Göygöl district. Climatic processes now know no borders. No country can cope with these challenges alone without cooperating with the countries of the region. Early identification of climatic events and early assignments of risk facilitate preventive measures. In this regard, we are considering setting up a regional cooperation platform for establishment of early warning system to ensure more effective information exchange and to strengthen the resilience of regional countries in identifying adequate measures. One of the main tasks in the framework of the Great Return to the liberated territories is to restore and improve the natural ecosystems, biodiversity, as well as rare and endangered plant species in the territories. Currently, together with the National Academy of Sciences of Azerbaijan, for the first time in 30 years, examination of rare and endangered fauna and flora species in liberated territories is being carried out. They will be listed in third edition of Red Book of Azerbaijan to be released in 2023. Steps to restore and rebuild the liberated areas include the use of renewable energy sources with global goals, as well as the application of clean energy technologies. I would like to note that the recent climate summit in Glasgow, Azerbaijan, announced its intention to create a net zero emission zone in the liberated territories by 2050. The great return to the liberated territories and the application of smart city and smart village approaches, as well as creation of green energy and green agriculture, will directly contribute to mitigate initiatives. In recent days, UN Environmental Expert Team mission visited and familiarized with current situation in the liberated territories. They will provide expert review and recommendations to support the national efforts in environmental rehabilitation, management and protection. Support of international organizations plays an important role in rehabilitation measures in the liberated territories. We believe that mutually benefit cooperation in the region will provide a massive input into the development of Azerbaijan and the region in whole. In conclusion, I would like to wish all the delegates successful and fruitful work. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, sir. And now, I have the pleasure of inviting Ms. Vladanka Andreeva, the UN Resident Coordinator. Please, this is a very special day, and we will all know by the end of today why this day is so special, apart from the 30th anniversary of the partnership. Vladanka, please. We are looking forward to hear from you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. It's a true pleasure to be with all of you today to yet another event to commemorate the 30 years of partnership between the United Nations and Azerbaijan. On 2nd of March 1992, Azerbaijan has joined the United Nations. Few months later, United Nations has opened the first office in Azerbaijan. Two important milestones that we are going to mark throughout the year with a series of discussion on how further to foster and enhance this partnership. On 2nd of March, in the center of Baku, we launched a photo exhibition, 100 photos that tell the story of our beginnings, that tell the story of how our partnership has changed the shape and format, but also the role that Azerbaijan is playing as an active member of United Nations. Many of our colleagues in this room have also used to work for United Nations, and it's really nice to see that change in between the years, and that talent now is being part of the government. Mr. Hajiev has highlighted how over the last 3 decades we have changed the way we are collaborating. In the earliest years of our collaboration, when we opened our office, we offered humanitarian assistance to to support a young country that was coming out of a conflict. We offered shelter, food, health, and social services for thousands of displaced people. Later on, the Millennium Development Goals have offered a platform for the United Nations to work very closely with the government and to invest in rapid economic growth and in human capital development. Result of that was a poverty reduction rate of amazing proportion. In 1995, 45% was what poverty was recorded in Azerbaijan, down to 5% a decade later. SDGs and Sustainable Development Agenda offered a different platform to further accelerate sustainable development with a people-centered approach. But since joining the United Nations, Azerbaijan has also contributed back. We have heard of the important role that it's played as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, but also by using the non-alignment movement as a platform to really usher a call for shared solidarity and the importance of multilateralism in battling COVID-19 pandemic. Last March, it seems like the month of March is very significant, we have signed our new cooperation framework between the government and United Nations for the period 2021-2025. That's the way, our modus operandi, the way we're doing business with the government. We have set 4 priorities with super ambitious targets. We want to continue jointly to support the government to promote inclusive growth, to reduce vulnerabilities, and to build resilience. We would like to see stronger institutions for better public and social services. We want to protect the environment and address the climate change. And we want to empower women and girls in all spheres of lives. Today, we have gathered at the invitation of the government to review the progress made towards the Sustainable Development Goals and to discuss opportunities to further strengthen cooperation in post-pandemic and post-conflict environment through the implementation of our joint cooperation framework. This meeting follows the 2 missions that have already taken place for the last 2 weeks. We had the Recovery Needs Assessment, a joint endeavor by European Union, World Bank, and United Nations, and the United Nations Environmental Programme mission to support recovery needs, including demining efforts. All this is part of the wider efforts by the United Nations and its partners to support humanitarian work, recovery, peace building, and sustainable development in the larger region. Restoring balance with nature, addressing the climate and pollution emergencies, securing the well-being of people are intertwined challenges that need to be tackled through multilateralism and cooperation. We are having this meeting on the eve of Nowruz, and this is going to be my very first Nowruz in Azerbaijan. It's a holiday that brings the family at home, at the same table, to share a meal. It's a holiday that has been celebrated for the last 3,000 years in order to usher spring, but it's a holiday that also calls for peace, solidarity, and reconciliation. The United Nations family in Azerbaijan, the talented team that I'm proud to lead and serve with, will continue to work closely with the government, with academia, young people, civil society, development partners, to support Azerbaijan recovery from COVID-19 pandemic and recent conflict and accelerate progress towards sustainable development goals. I sincerely do look forward to a very candid dialogue and discussion at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ladanka, and while thanking you, I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers for their extremely rich opening statements that will be segueing us into the discussion that will follow. But before we proceed, I would like to ask Roshan Malim, Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation and Transportation, to come to the stage as we have something to present. This is an old tradition, and we are going to be witnessing it one more time as the government of Azerbaijan has issued a special postmark that is actually dedicated to this very remarkable anniversary. It's a small token of appreciation, but please, I'm asking our colleagues to take care of some of the logistics. In the meantime, here they come. Yes. Okay, Roshan Malim. Buyurun. Ben mikrofonu verebilirim Roshan Malim.
Buradan diyelim.
Buradan yaxşı. Onu da buradan değil sonra.
Thank you very much. Hürmetli hemşehriler, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. First of all, I also greet all of you in the beautiful city of Shusha on the eve of Nowruz. On the occasion of 13th anniversary of Azerbaijan-UN partnership, special stamp has been issued for this occasion. Of course, today we are holding the ceremony of the cancellation of this special first stamp. It's a special stamp was issued for this event. And just for your information, 4,000 such kind of stamp will be released for sale since today. With your permission, I want to cancel the first symbolic stamp.
They say you've got a mail. Okay, so now we'll have another technological moment as we're getting ourselves prepared for the panel. I hope our colleagues will move fast as we have to catch up quite a bit. The weather was not cooperating this morning. We're quite a bit behind the schedule, but even so we'll have to downsize in terms of the volume of discussion. I'm sure it will not undermine the richness and the efficiency of the exchange. I'm trying to fill the gap. I'm still talking. Okay, now I think.
Birlikte kalırız. Bir de tez gönderekler. Sonra da canlı eğitim.